folks, and welcome to another episode of the Snowies Camping Show. You are here with Ben and myself, Lauren. How are you, Ben?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. So this week we are going to have a bit of a look at Australian manufacturing, because last week we got some sad news from one of our favourite,
quintessential
favourite Aussie-made brands for campfire cooking and all that sort of jazz, Hillbilly, who are unfortunately no longer able to supply gear wholesale or supply retailers with their gear, just because with the cost of raw materials and all of that jazz, it's no longer viable for them to do so. So never to fear, you'll still be able to pick up your Hillbilly gear from them directly, but we will no longer be able to carry their stuff, which is not great. So with that in mind, we've decided to pick the brains of one of our other favourite Australian manufacturing businesses, Blacksmith Camping Supplies.
So online we
have.
Hi. So we have Laine and Erin with us today. You guys are brother and sister, is that right?
Can you tell?
Yeah. And
hey Ben, hey Lauren.
How you going? There's family connections here too.
Family connections here too.
Because there is a relationship between us and Erin and Laine here. We've I've worked with both of you guys for more than a decade now, and I don't know how many, a lot of years for you as well, Lauren.
Yep.
But
2012, I think.
12 for me, yeah. That's
when
I started.
Yeah, and I think early 2019 for me.
Okay,
But Erin and I actually went to school together. We were like we were best friends in year 8.
Okay, wait. So this is just a big chin wag here.
It's like a big incestuous chin wag.
Yeah. But,
and someone just hit record, so.
But ultimately, Laine is actually our boss.
Well, not today though.
We're
in charge today.
Yeah, we're the boss today.
So you just got to do what we say. But no, Blacksmith Camping Supplies is something that you guys started on the back of the time you've had at Snowies Outdoors. So do you want to elaborate a little bit on the history there and how Blacksmith came to be?
Yeah, as you guys know, so Dad started Snowies in the mid-90s, and ever since Dad set up his shop in Adelaide, we've been around camping and outdoor gear for most of our lives. So up until 2019, we were getting a lot of feedback from customers to suggest that there's an opportunity for some Australian-made product, and so we got into it and wanting to prove Dad that we can do something just as good as what he's done.
So is it just about proving something to your dad, or is it more about the customers there?
Pretty much.
No, but I can vouch. So obviously, plenty of history there in the industry,
especially the history of the Snowies ad campaign in 1999, which is available on YouTube.
Are we going there?
If you want to see both Laine and Erin in their youthful prime.
Yeah.
We love doing that commercial because we got the day off school, and Laine and I made a cameo, so look out for the haircuts.
I reckon that video is on the About Us page on the Snowies site, so jump in and check it out. It's
you have to have a keen eye to be able to spot it, but we're there, unfortunately.
Yeah, look closely. Same store as it's in now in Adelaide here, not the Queensland store, but yeah, there's some younger faces in there. But so heaps and heaps of history in the camping industry, and obviously heaps of feedback from customers on sort of what they want. But you set out to create some good quality Aussie-made gear. Was that the premise of what sort of the core of where Blacksmith started? Yeah,
well, for us, it's something that we can control from start to finish, and the starting is sourcing the product in Australia from an Australian business, which is a family business, all the way through to the quality control and making sure, because we take pride in what we do.
That's right. Yeah.
Erin and the team take so much pride in the bags that we want to make sure that it reflects our brand well, as well as essentially because we're connected to Snowies, the Snowies brand too.
So you mentioned before about sourcing materials and Australian-made materials and things like that. Through a lot of conversations that happen around Australian manufacturing in the industry in general, one of those hurdles is the limited availability of Australian manufactured materials to begin with. So how did you go about sort of like how important I guess, okay, multi-pronged question. How important was Australian materials as well, not just the Australian sort of manufacturing and assembly component? And how did you go about sourcing Australian materials that you were happy with?
Yeah.
That's a good question.
Basically
we did a lot of research. The best that we found was it's Australian made, and it basically comes from the cotton grown in Queensland, and then that's woven into material, and it's just the processes that it goes through. The canvas is our biggest material. We have PVC, both made in Australia. The canvas it's the highest of quality, and we need it to be that way so our products last. So it's rot proof, it's UV resistant, it's made for Australian conditions. So we did a lot of research, and we have had a lot of offers to go for offshore canvas and that, but we know that the quality doesn't stand. So in the instance that we're not able to provide a product that's Australian made to the level that we need. In the instance of zips, there's not a whole lot of options in Australia. Then we go to the next best, which is sourced from Japan, and that's YKK zips.
Okay. And so
our key focus is Australian made, but it needs to meet a level of quality.
Yes, yeah.
And so was it hard to find Australian suppliers of Australian materials?
Yeah, we're pretty lucky in this industry, being like synonymous with the Australian history of the swagman. Like that's partly what led us to getting into this business, is that the roots of it is Australian. So finding the suppliers in this industry has actually we've had quite a few options to choose from. So
that's good. That's good to know.
Pretty proud of that.
Yeah.
We should actually elaborate. We haven't touched on just what, for those who don't know of Blacksmith Camping Supplies, the core of what you do is canvas bags for forward driving. So forward drive bags, wheel bags, camp oven storage bags, all the caravan storage bags you need for hoses, and just small little zipper bags. I know I've got a few that I've used on trips, and you just make them really well. So obviously canvas is your, I assume, the main product you
That's
use.
Canvas and PVC.
Yeah.
Sourced both in Australia.
So are zips the only thing then that's not Australian made?
No, Velcro, which is also known as hook and loop. There's not a manufacturer we can get for, but the webbing we source that from Victoria.
Oh yeah.
So a couple of pieces of hardware, would be sourced from overseas.
But the foundation of our bag is Australian made.
Definitely.
I think that's important to note for Australian made, because people sort of say they want something that's 100% Australian made, but even electronics and all that, you can be like maybe 80% Australian made, but the last 20% can't physically be sourced in Australia because it's just not made here. So either they go as high a percentage Australian made as they can, or just don't do it at all, I suppose, are your options, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's right. And there's sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to mention there are other manufacturers where they are an Australian brand, but they will offshore, whereas we have all in-house, so we do make everything, all our bags.
So you're sitting in the factory there, aren't you, where you've got your team behind you, they're working away.
Thanks for the comment, Ben, but it's really a very small micro workshop.
Yeah. I was about to say what you see behind you is basically what you get.
It doesn't get much bigger around the corner. No. There's a very, very busy team of people in there. We've walked through it regularly.
So
we've got 4 expert sewers behind us working.
Yeah, awesome. So when you're setting up also, supplying of your Australian materials and things like that, that's obviously not the only consideration when you're setting up a manufacturing business. You've also got like your machinery and all your equipment and things like that. What has it been like for you, having that level of standard of manufacturing equipment within Australia, access to it, getting it repaired, like just the whole part and parcel of it?
We're really lucky. We've got a big cutting machine. It's called a Pathfinder, and that cuts all our materials. We can't. It's basically 2 full-time people cutting permanently. So that was from Victoria. So, and the service that we get, anytime they can come over and help us fix, they can remote into the machine. In terms of our sewing machines, we've purchased them all from Queensland. We get a lot of help. A lot of my background, when I was younger, I actually did a diploma in textiles. So I do have the sewing background, so I understood more about industrial machines and that. But it has been a bit of a steep learning curve, but there's a lot of help, and I have found the industry very helpful, to be honest.
Yeah, it's been great. It's actually helpful and understanding, and everyone's just willing to just offer advice in this industry. You can't knock any of our competitors just because they help us out so much.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So your Aussie-Made extends to trying to source from within Australia as well. Is it fair to say that? Like your actual infrastructure?
Yeah, that's right.
I think that's that probably wasn't our driver, but it's a bonus for us because what we're looking for very specific machinery, and we weren't expecting it to be Australian manufactured machinery. That's just been a bonus.
Yeah, right.
And also, no one was pushing harder for our big cutter than me because I was holding the scissors each night. So
yeah, I remember seeing
put the scissors down. I was pretty happy.
Yeah, massive forearms for a while there. There's loads of other companies. That's what I've said now. We may cut that bit out. There's loads of other companies making similar products in the market. A lot of really sort of, I don't like to use the word cheap, but really affordable. There's more expensive ones. If you could put your finger on your one point of difference, what would that be?
Quality and
just
durability.
Yeah, I'd say one is. I mean, both
we've
those.
Got too many.
Those are pretty good.
Yeah, probably narrow it too
I'd
far.
say practical designs that customers lead in our design. So what customers are telling us, we need to be offer practical products that are going to last forever.
Okay, I know you guys.
I'll put a pin on that because I want to discuss a bit more about designing the range and expanding the range in a little bit. But we're going back to Laine's massive forearms. You were talking about cutting fabric every single night with scissors. When was this and how did it all get started?
I'll let Erin go over this.
It was 2019 that Laine and I got together, and with our powers combined, obviously we know Snowy's like the back of our hand in the camping and outdoor industry. But because we wanted to take something on ourselves, we really
So like 9 to 5, like we were working for Snowy.
That's right.
And then we're like, okay, from 5 o'clock till 9 o'clock at night, we'll get into the back room of Snowy's. We'll buy a sewing machine, and I'll cut all the material, and we'll sell the gear through Snowy's. That's how it started.
And so I was sewing the designs, pattern making, and then I'd sew it. So we'd come in on a Sunday as well. So we were. We did everything we could outside of Snowy's to get it going.
Ben, you'd remember that. We'd pass off prototype iterations that we needed you to have a look over and give us feedback.
Yeah, I remember that. I also remember Erin when you were cutting PVC in a very tiny little
dungeon room office under the stairs.
I've learned over the years that magnetic lights can stick on a machine, whereas I was just happy with wearing a headlight looking at it so people would come in and stuff.
You literally did have a bit of a Harry Potter workshop there in a sort of cupboard under the stairs, didn't you? It was sort of a bit.
We did.
It was tiny back there.
It was a bit of a test to us as to whether it was something we really wanted to get into.
Yeah.
And it turned out it really was.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, it's growing quickly. I mean, from where you were to where that factory behind you there now, it's worlds apart.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we're really proud of that too.
And I think
sorry, Lauren.
No, I was going to say, I think the from when you guys sort of first started, and I remember often sometimes being one of the last people to leave, and there would be this little glow of the light in the dark winter night of you little shoe elves working back there in your room. But I guess the progression from there over to where you are now has been pretty quick, I would say. Like, do you feel the same?
Yeah, that's we have to say that we put that down to leveraging off Snowy's. Having access to allowing our products to be in front of Snowy's customers has accelerated the brand exposure and our product in more people's hands to test. And once they test and know that it's a good product, they'll come back to us again. So that's what's really helped us.
Yeah, that has helped us.
Yeah.
A lot of feedback, and then we can really hone in. And then we found if it works, it's starting to boom a lot more. And we really want to focus on new designs and new styles. There's so many bags that we can design for your camping. And
so who was the first person you employed? Like, is it not specifically who they were, but what sort of role was it? Like, what was your first step into that expansion?
Well, first we needed a full-time sewer that can maintain our level of quality while still meeting what customers are wanting. That was that was a really big step for us because up until that point everything was controlled by us. So we had to learn how to train and get into that sort of and just like the investment, like we had to make sure this thing is going to work. Fortunately, it did.
Knowing you're both pretty particular, I guess.
No.
So like, was that, having somebody else in to actually sew, was that sort of like you were handing your newborn baby over to somebody and you just
pretty much.
It pretty much was like that. Yeah, definitely.
But good thing Erin here has a bit of a background in teaching, so that kind of helped.
Yeah, awesome.
And also we have a quality control process, and that often helps work out where maybe there needs to be some more training. So we've really nailed down the steps from that.
Can I just say that going back to the investment of hiring our first staff member was quite challenging for me personally, because my wife, every time I went, or my fiance at the time, we were wanting to pay for our upcoming wedding. And every
forgot about that.
Every night I had to go home and explain to her that I just had to put a couple extra $100 on a piece of machinery. I had to hire this new staff member, and I wasn't. Well, fortunately, we got it all how we wanted it. So,
we were funding it all. We really did want to do it on our own.
Yeah, for sure.
So it was a big step to hire someone new.
Yeah. And at what point did you realise that, you might be on to something? Because obviously Blacksmith is pretty big. Like, you've expanded your range. You pump out so many bags. We sell loads of them through Snowies. So at what point did you sort of think, hang on a minute, this is a good thing? Yeah,
I guess it was that hiring that first staff member to have the confidence in what customers are telling us that.
Yeah, that's right.
We are onto a winner. So that's what gave us the confidence.
And we're always eager to. Obviously, we sold in store to Snowies. We're always eager for feedback, and that really did help us work out.
And still helping us,
Yeah,
very helpful.
So you sell through Snowies, but you also have the Blacksmith website, and you guys ship internationally there as well, don't you?
Yeah. We launched that start of last year, and that's been going well ever since. Like you said, Ben, we ship over over US, Canada, UK, New Zealand, Japan. There's a few countries that are interested in Australian-made camping and four drive bags.
That's pretty cool to think like that gear you've made is literally being used all over the world.
It's so cool.
It is really cool, especially.
Like we get photos sent in from us from like we had a little girl in Japan holding one of our bags.
Yeah,
it was just like the coolest thing ever.
It is really cool. Obviously, Australia is our biggest. We sell the most through Australia, but America, it's huge. It's great to see it. Even somewhere in New York ordered a bag from us.
Yeah, that's cool.
Cool.
Yeah,
right. Going on from your question before, Lauren, how did we know when it was taking off?
Yeah,
we worked out that there was a market for complementing our bags with camping gear that didn't say have a bag, or for example, our camp oven bags or a peg and tool bag that will last. Having sharp pegs and that rubbing against the material, that's when we knew we were onto something, because we were providing bags that maybe didn't so much have a market. So
for sure. And so what sort of you look like you were going to say something, sorry.
That's it. But we're probably going to say the same thing because we're reading off the same sheet. So you go first.
Okay. All right. Initial challenges when you were sort of first getting things off the ground, anything that stands out to you there?
Space, having the space. Also, we can only make so many bags in a day. So having the machinery and the space, you can't just put can't put a sewing machine in a small space. You need a table around it. So That was probably our biggest challenges.
Yeah.
Aside from.
And just on that is our efficiencies early on. We were very inefficient because of our space, and we didn't have enough cash behind us to buy machinery. So that was our priority: is to make sure that we're an efficient business, so our prices can be as low as they can. And I don't want that to come across as a sales pitch. That's really what was driving us.
Yeah. That's right.
So what about new designs, new products, and how does it come about identifying a new product opportunity and the design and testing phase to getting to the point where you're happy with it being a good quality product that you can put the Blacksmith name on?
Yeah. Well, first it starts from the customer. We have a document that we share of customer requests. So what we see is most popular from customers. Then we'll design what we think based on what is currently out on the market. We'll design what we think is the best on the market and then take it to test. And that is giving it to Snowy staff for some of our customers to really thrash it over out in the scrub.
That's right.
Yeah, that's what drives us for new bag designs.
So a lot of Blacksmith customers will email us asking, have you thought of this bag? We love those suggestions. Also, as at Snowy's, like yourselves, people are out camping and full driving and they see all the gear and they know, oh, maybe I want this sort of bag. So we get a lot of feedback. And then obviously we do prototypes and then we get people like yourselves to test it out.
And the beauty about being a small business is we can move really quickly. So if we're getting an overwhelming response to a bag to say, hey, you need to add a pocket here or something, we're pretty quick that we can add that in.
Yeah.
And how does price play into that? Because your products certainly aren't the cheapest on the market, but at what point does price come into it, or are you just primarily focused on let's just make a product that does the job and then the price comes after that?
Yeah, essentially it needs to meet our level of quality, practicality. But yeah, like I said before, it's all about, as long as we're as efficient as we can, the prices will reflect that. While we might not be as cheap as what you can get on the market from imported products, there's a position for us because we like to prioritise quality and Australian materials.
So I think a lot of, there's often a lot of commentary, especially sort of within Australian camping brands, of people going, oh, that's a rip off of that, or I saw this, or someone else did this first, and vice versa. But I think it's fair to say, so with the development of your wheel bag, for example, it was a factor to have to ultimately look at a whole bunch of other brands and their wheel bags and how they did things and work out the feedback from those bags in order to develop your bag, right?
Totally, yeah. We went out and bought about 5 or 6 wheel bags of what is available on the market, and we put the hard work on ourselves and said we need to design something that is better than all of these. Otherwise, we're going to go nowhere.
That's right. And we also want to look at what's working for these bags that people love to use, and then we want to essentially get that and put it all in one. Yeah. So our wheel bag it's pretty, we've really worked hard on it. I'd say it's our bread and butter right now.
Mm.
Yeah.
I do remember.
I think you had a fair bit to do with that too, didn't you?
Yeah, I do remember a few sessions just standing at the back of my car in the car park, scratching our heads, trying to work out if we can, or if you guys can do things differently, or you're putting a hard word on me asking, what about this? What about that? So, yeah, but it sounds like it's been a success for you then, the wheel bag.
Yeah, we've made changes ever since launch based on what customers have told us too. So it has been refined since launch. So, yeah, we're pretty happy with where it's at right now. And we're wanting to expand on that range too.
How long, like if a customer comes to you and says, oh, I want, I've loved this bag and a couple of customers have come with the same feedback. What's the sort of time frame or the process from you guys going, okay, look, this looks like something that people want and need, to it actually being ready to walk out the door?
Yeah, it's probably not. It depends on the complexity of the design. We'll always start with a pretty dodgy prototype. By dodgy, it hasn't had a whole lot of love put into it. It's really to see whether it's practical. then there'll be prototype after it depends on the design, but there could be 3, 4, 5 prototypes to nail the design, and then we'll start to get into the look of it and the production, and it could be 2, 3, 4 months to get a design from an idea through to production.
And do you draft those patterns yourself, Erin, like literally from scratch?
Yes. What's great about having our Pathfinder is there's a program you can use that makes it really easy digitally.
That's the cutter, by the way.
The cutter.
Yeah.
Sorry, it uses a program called Pathworks. But anyway, it's very easy to create patterns. So instead of doing it by hand, which is what we did at the start, it's very quick. So you can come up with measurements and put everything together. It's really just about sewing it. It can be quick as well. It's more about, is this the right fit for what customers want?
And starting on paper, then moving to calico, then we get into the canvas, and then
that's right. And we with any design, for example, our coffee kit bag is one of our bags, and we have a handle on the side, and that might, with testing, we worked out if you just want to pull it out of your 4-drive in the back of it, you pull it out and you got this slider, the zip just there to open up and grab anything out. So the little things like that take a little bit of time, but we really want to get it right before it goes out.
Mm-hmm.
I think people don't notice some of those little things. You just grab a bag and you use it, but you don't realise that the zips that way for a reason. But you just use it, and because it works and you don't think twice, you don't think, oh, that's good that they've done that, because it's just
it's a bit of a subconscious thought, isn't it?
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, it's like I feel like, I don't know about you, but I feel like often if I'm out camping or I've got a new piece of gear, I'm using it, I'm like, oh, it would be cool if this was different. But you never think to yourself, oh, isn't it cool that this is, because you're just going through the motions and there's nothing there
it just works
to stop your interaction with the product.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah. So knock-on effects of the business growing. We've got a note here about access and supply of machinery required. Has there been a hold up at some point where you needed something? I guess we can probably touch a bit on COVID here as well, because COVID's been a real issue with, provided a lot of issues with supply of materials, raw materials. And when we say raw materials, that flows through to potentially manufacturing the equipment you need as well.
The knock-on effects are huge, really.
Yeah. So how has that impacted you guys from both getting equipment in and also, I guess, getting equipment out or getting designs out?
Yeah, it's, I'll just jump in before Erin does. In that, we've been pretty lucky with COVID. We started the business, like we were talking, we started the business before the impact COVID had. And with locally made product being attractive to some customers and campers and four-wheel drivers, it gave us a bit of a leg up. But on the flip side of that, getting sewing machines, getting some pieces of hardware has been a challenge, but it's no different to any other business in Australia right now who are dealing with, especially Snowies, dealing with supply issues. Just got to manage the best way you can.
I suppose if you have got largely in-house materials that are coming from Australian resources, there's probably less of a disruption, because I know a lot of people, like, you know, with Hillbilly, for example, not specific because I don't know the ins and outs of their business, but I know that, you know, Hillbilly, Superpeg, there were some companies that were relying on raw materials that had to be bought in from other countries, and a lot of that supply chain was interrupted purely just because of international freight being a massive mess up. So if you're using canvas that's grown from cotton in Australia and it's made in Australia, there's less of those, I guess, logistical interruptions.
There is, yes. But in saying that, there's been a high demand. Where we get our canvas from it's called Wax Converters in New South Wales, and they've had such a demand for Australian materials that they can't possibly make all the materials. So we've actually had limited supply from one just because they can't make enough of it.
Okay.
So it's booming. So there's been a shortage because of that. But other than that, I think we've been really lucky. And buying Australian made, we do find that it has been that way. Yeah.
And also just a bit of a nod to Hillbilly. It's so sad to hear of a business like that.
Yeah.
But steel prices have gone up 200% in 2 years. And it's just not, not viable to sell retail anymore, unfortunately for them.
Well, they can't put a fireplace grill up 200%, can they? It's
No.
in a retail shop. It's no one's going to spend that much on a grill.
And it's detrimental to the brand, especially when, like us, we can sell directly to the customer. And fortunately, with Snowy's, we can share the GP on it, the profit on it. But for someone like Hillbilly, all they can do now is cut out the middleman.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I just want to say, whilst we're talking about Hillbilly, my fire cooking kit from Hillbilly I've had for nearly 16 years now. And it's still exactly the same original stuff.
It's quintessentially Aussie, isn't it?
It's quintessentially Aussie.
Raw,
and I love it.
Tough steel stuff.
100%.
So, it's a shame to not see it in the stores anymore. So I guess it's a bit of a catch-22 that you guys are, you struggle to get some materials maybe from Australian suppliers because they're busier, but then it's a good thing that they're busier because it means more people are sourcing from within Australia. So it's a bit hard to be annoyed about it because we're supporting what's going on in Australia. So,
Erin, I remember seeing you more than once on your hands and knees under a machine swearing a few times because you potentially couldn't get somebody in to help you out.
Sure.
How has that sort of been in terms of maintenance and, manufacturing in Australia isn't a massive industry. So then I'm assuming the amount of people who have the skills and ability to help with the maintenance of things like sewing machines is probably a bit on the smaller side.
Well, we do have a couple of great mechanics. It's a dying trade, to be honest, but there's still a lot out there. And there is a lot of sewing machinists. It's just finding sewing machinists that fit our brand and the quality that we're after. But we're really good at eyeing that off now. So, I really think that we're lucky. I do worry in 20 years if there'll still be some mechanics around, but that's why if you ever see me on a machine, I'm trying to learn how to fix it myself or don't know.
Yeah.
Just get your diploma in sewing machine mechanics now as well.
I love getting my hands dirty and
that's just but also we were put in contact with some local mechanics from a business called Adelaide Antics, just around the corner from here. They do caravan awnings, a few other bits and pieces. It just goes. It's a reflection of the industry that they're just willing to help.
That's right.
And we'd be pretty stuffed if we didn't get that help.
Mind you, I think my sewing machine mechanic's about 80 years old. I think he's an 80-year-old German fella.
Really?
Yeah.
You say that like you've got it, like you take your sewing machine to get it serviced like you do your car. Is that? I'm not a sewer.
I don't really take it as frequently as my car, but it's good to get it serviced. Keep it.
Lauren, I didn't know you work with sewing machines. We can give you a job.
No, I'm good. I'm happy.
But weekend work.
She's certainly not going to be on a podcast because she'll be sewing bags.
I have enough people wanting me to make them things without you guys adding to that. Thanks.
You can start with canvas.
Yeah. So you've touched before a little bit on your quality control. Can you give us a bit more details on that actual process and maybe, Erin, your level of standard and where you're at with that?
Yeah, sure. Look, all bags that are sewn, we have a process where they go on the shelf and then they're all reviewed before they're even considered before going out.
Every single bag? Every single
bag. I've got a very good eye. I do it myself at the moment. I will be passing that on, but I really do like to keep the quality high. A lot of it is you have to know a bit of sewing technique, so back stitching, making sure that none of the stitching is going to come undone. If there's any faults in the material, which we like to prevent earlier. Anything that could be, we want consistent bags. So if you're buying one, you're going to get the same quality and the same bag later if you bought another one. So anything and everything. Loose thread. I want our bags to be of the standard we want.
You often find Erin walking around the workshop with a tape measure, just
I can vouch for it too.
Right.
That is actually true. I have seen that.
Well, Erin has come up to me a few times and said, look, I don't think this is right. Am I being too picky here for this?
Yeah,
I did actually, admittedly, I did hear the other day, Erin, you weren't here, but I was walking through the floor there and I heard one of your sewers say to another sewer, now just be careful of that little millimeter of canvas, but Erin doesn't like that. It has to be like, you probably need to unpick that and do it again.
You just be back on your desk.
Yeah. I had a bit of a laugh about that.
I didn't know that, so that's
Right.
You're right. Anything that's not quite right, it will be sent back if we can fix it. Otherwise, we have a seconds collection that we're still not sure how we're gonna
sell those, but yeah.
Yeah,
well, you probably get a heap of inquiries now that you've mentioned that. People are saying, I'll dig in. So I just want to put one question to you. I know we've touched on Australia-made a bit and why you guys try and source all Australian-made equipment or Australian-made materials, but why is it so important? Like, why not get your canvas from overseas?
You know, I wasn't so sure of this when I was younger, and I used to work on the Snowy's floor a lot. I thought all canvas would be the same, but over time and really learning, you know, I really nerd out on the canvas side of things. Australian canvas, not only the fact that it's made in Australia, it's creating a lot of jobs. I mean, we all know that. It's the quality of it. So a lot of offshore canvas can skip a few steps in the process. So they may not bleach or wash the canvas. So then there's a lot of oils in it. It breaks down over time and can rot. Whereas Australian canvas is really particular about those steps. And so that's why it can last a long time. And it's made for Australian harsh conditions. So being UV resistant and rot proof, which is a huge thing, especially when you're around water and, you know, all of that kind of thing. So that's a big part of it.
I guess it goes without saying that you're also supporting Australian jobs and keeping manufacturing live in Australia as well. So you're talking from a quality perspective, but from we want to support both our local and national economy in the best way we can. We're a pipsqueak business, but that's all we can do really is try and do our best to support it.
But the good thing is you're paying, you pay for what you get. So that's another way to look at it. You're getting really quality canvas, and that's gonna,
Just to we just want to highlight that canvas that's manufactured overseas, we don't feel as if it's crap canvas. It's that it's probably been manufactured to suit the local conditions, and it's probably really suitable for some purposes. But what we're wanting is something quite hardy and will last a lifetime. And we trust the mill in New South Wales to deliver that.
Awesome.
Good answer.
So what is there on the horizon for Blacksmith? What are you guys seeing in your future?
Expanding the range. We want to hire, just touching on that, we want to hire more staff. We want to, some of the products that we've got coming up, we want to do some tool rolls and organisers.
Ooh, organisers.
We're working with, we're wanting a bit of involvement from the guys over at Sidetracked Australia to help us out with some ideas around that. What else?
We've got a long list from just a 4-drive system, so that every bag that can fit in your 4-drive, all of that.
That'd be great.
To a ute bag, because we've got our wheel bag, of course, but if you've got a ute or a tray, we want to design a bag for that. Mm-hmm. All sorts, jerry can bag. We could. In addition, keep going.
Being more efficient, we want to get our prices down, and to do that, we need to be better at what we do. We feel like we're in a pretty good place right now, but the more we can do, the better. So that's where we're wanting to drive the business.
Yeah, we're excited about getting more efficient.
More machinery.
Yeah.
Nice. Have you guys just got lunch break there or something? Because it sounds like your rear doorbell's going off over and over.
It is lunchtime, so
we are in
we
are in a factory, so if you can set your clock to when all the sewers here go on break, and it's lunchtime right now.
Right. That's great. I think you did say you had up until 12 o'clock, and we're pulling you past that. So, but like we said, we're the boss at the moment, so you just have to sit there and wait.
Mm-hmm. I'm not loving it.
So for those of our listeners who maybe haven't quite got around Blacksmith yet, where is the best place to do that?
Well, our website, you can contact us through online form through blacksmithcamping.com. But also we're on Facebook and Instagram. We're not as active as what we want to be, but that's what happens when you've got a small team.
Yeah.
One day we'll be a bit
that's right.
better at that. But that's where you'll catch us, and you can get in touch with us. I mean, I'm on there personally, so you can talk to me direct.
Awesome.
Also, you can buy our bags from Snowy's as well.
Sweet.
And Blacksmith. So blacksmith.com.au. And
Awesome.
buy Snowy's.
No, Benjamin. It is blacksmithcamping.com.
So Benjamin, I'm in trouble.
That is your first official warning.
As soon as this is over, I'm no longer boss once we're done here, and I'll be disciplined after this.
I think it's probably time we cut this off now.
I think so, because Laine's late for his next meeting or something. So
awesome. All right. Thank you so much for joining us,
Thanks,
Laine
guys.
and Erin. It's awesome. We'll see you a bit later.
yeah.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Thank
Great
you.
work.
See you
Catch you later.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Right. That was it.
Another episode of the
Another
Snowy's
episode.
Camping Show. all
Blacksmith
about
Camping Supplies. Really
Aussie-Made.
great to talk through the finer details of Aussie manufacturing as well.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
You do it. We're both sitting here going, who's going to wind up? I'll do it. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to our channel, either on YouTube where you can watch us or you can listen to us on your favourite podcast app and join in on the conversation at the Snowy's Camping Show Facebook group. But until next time, we'll catch you later.
Catch you later, everyone.
Bye.